And Redevelopment Authority Management Committee meeting to order. And we've got a bunch of stuff to get through today, so let's start out with item 1, where we'll consider recommending the HRA Board of Trustees approve the program year 2019 action plan amendments with the Community Development Block Grant COVID funding recommendations following receipt of public comments at a public hearing on February 23rd. Looks like we're going to turn to Renee for this one.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, trustees. A couple items on this. There are 4 CDBG CV applications for this that we're going to recommend amending our 2019 action plan for. Rise Inc., Coon Rapids, they have a project to convert warehouse space to workspace due to COVID restrictions. They also need equipment for that, which would be considered a public service. Mediation and Restorative Services is looking for funding for pre-eviction mediations and counseling services due to the pandemic. And then Nucleus Clinic has increased staffing hours because it's taking longer for them to serve their clients during this time because of additional cleaning protocols as well as additional scheduling for that. So they are requesting the following funding: $390,000 for Rise to convert their warehouse space, $448,581 for the equipment for that activity. Mediation and Restorative Services, also known as MARS, is requesting $60,000 in CDBG CV funds, as well as Nucleus Clinic is requesting $59,586,000. We are able to use a waiver for this, seeing as these are COVID-related activities. We did a 5-day public notice on this, and then we will have the public hearing at our next meeting.
Is there a motion to approve this and send it to the full board?
I move it, please.
Motion by Trustee West. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Gamache. Further questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee West.
I would just like to say that these organizations are very essential and serve a population that might not have the opportunities otherwise, and I'm very thankful that money is available.
Yes, our COVID-19 dollars coming back from the federal government need to get into the end user's hands as efficiently as possible, and I think this is one way we've been able to do that. Any further comments?
Can I add one more thing? We do have ample CDBG CV funds. They must meet all of our HUD regular requirements, in addition prevention, response, or recovery from COVID-19. So if you're out and you do have nonprofits or communities that are interested in this, please have them contact me. We will likely be coming back on a regular basis, having these public hearings, trying to get this funding out the door as soon as possible for these entities. So we have funding agreements drafted and we'll have them ready to go out as soon as we have funding approved. So just keep that in mind. We have over $1 million available in CDBG CV funds.
I would like to turn to the county attorney first and ask him a question. This is a committee meeting. Do we do a roll call vote when we're doing contract work with dollar amounts? Or?
Mr. Chair, no, because you were just recommending to the full board, and they would have then, of course, pass it at this point. But I do have a follow-up. I don't know, does this board have to take a formal action to set that public hearing? Is there a formal requirement for the management committee to set the public hearing, I guess? And I would defer probably to the community development staff on that. Has this been set already?
Well, our item 6 is for informational purposes. A public hearing will be held on the 23rd. I will turn to Karen.
Did we have?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Attorney Palumbo, at our last HRA board meeting, we did notice that this public hearing would be coming up at our next meeting.
Very good.
Takes care of that.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there any further comment on this issue? Trustee Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you answered part of my question. So we have 1 million still available in this bucket CV, and then my other question was, but the entire bucket was at 5 million originally with the CDBG/CV?
No, we have about $1.2 million in total for the CDBG CV funds. The county itself has other CARES Act funding available, but we are just responsible for the CDBG CV, which is about $1.2 million.
Okay, thank you.
That's where we differentiate between the county board and the HRA. The HRA is CDBG CV, as compared to CARES Act dollars. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That will pass unanimously. Next, we'll move to item 2, where we'll consider recommending the full Board of Trustees approve the use of Housing and Redevelopment Authority funds for the City of Centerville in the amount of $25,000 to establish a revolving loan and grant program. Karen.
Mr. Chair, trustees, the City of Centerville would like to establish both a loan and a grant program. They anticipate that in difficult economic times, it'll be primarily grants made. But if the world stabilizes a bit, they'd like to be able to create a revolving loan program that actually has an interest rate attached to it. We have advised them that it's best to put both options into their request now. This will ultimately become a revolving fund for the city. They will serve businesses. They actually have one grant that they have tentatively approved already. So now we're playing catch up to that. Today, we have the resolution from the City Council. I have their program guidelines and documents. We've worked closely with them. It meets the requirements of the HRA, and it will help local businesses make facade grants and other small improvements to their capital investments.
Thank you, Karen. Is there a motion to approve? A motion by Trustee Camash. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee West. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then that is approved and will be sent to the full Board of Trustees. Next, consider recommending the full Board of Trustees enter into a contract with Twin Cities Mechanical in the amount of $380,996 for HVAC and siding replacements. $380,995 for HVAC and siding replacements at Savannah Oaks in Ramsey. This is one of our 4 senior housing buildings. Karen, anything else we need to know about this one?
Mr. Chair, trustees, we started working on this project several years ago when we thought we were actually going to have to bump the walls out. By working with vendors, they realized that the type of heating unit that had been put in these units across the Twin Cities was not going to be supported. So Magic Pack, the larger vendor, started creating a retrofit product. They now have a unit that fits in the size of our mechanical closet. So we were able to successfully go out for bids. What we once thought was going to cost several $1 million is now, $300 and some thousand. We did do an alternate in the bid to, instead of trying to replace the siding as it was removed from the exterior of the building, to just replace it because we expected there would be some cracking. We came in well under our anticipated bid amount and are recommending that we fund, or that we go with both the base bid and the alternate of replacing the siding.
Thank you, Karen. Trustee Look.
Hey, Mr. Chair, thank you. This is good news from what we were facing before. But Karen, did we replace any of these units? I mean, we talked about it a year or 2 ago, maybe. How many had we replaced? And
Mr. Chair, trustees, we have only replaced them as they are failing, hopefully right before they fail. And we've done 2, maybe 3 per year. So at this point, I'm sure we've done less than 10 units.
okay, Mr. Chair, these are part of the challenges that we get into when we try and operate buildings that reach a certain age. Every building that reaches a certain age starts getting very costly, and our mission initially was to provide rent at or below market rate, an affordable rent for seniors that are on fixed incomes. It's a good mission to have, keep seniors in our community, certainly. Unfortunately, as these buildings start to age, our costs go up and we have to raise rents to try and keep track, keep at least even with what our expenses are. And we continue to see this on and on and on. Now, this is good news because it's less than the millions that we were staring down the barrel of, but nevertheless, this will not be the last item that we have to deal with these aging structures. And so, we've kind of brought this up and talked a fair amount about the role of government and the role of, owning these facilities. And I'm not sure that we've ever come to a conclusion on it, but it's still something that continues to kind of nag me a little as we continue to face these costly repairs for things that are, at their end of life, components in the buildings as they're in their end of life. I don't know what to say. It's frustrating.
I agree, trustee. Look, we were at the table with a mission early on, not we, the county board was at the table early on with a mission to make sure that senior housing was available at a reasonable rate for our locals. And I think they've done that. We've done that. But the private market is now offering many more options. And they've caught up with the demand, more or less. So it is something we should look at regularly. We should always be looking at, is this where we belong? Should we move out of this market and try something different? Is rent subsidy better than this? I mean, we need to be flexible, we need to be smart, and I think you bringing it to the forefront 3.5 years ago to talk about it was not a bad plan, and I think we need to continue to, and we have done a number of studies to make sure that we're in the right place. But at some point, that all shifts, that all changes, and we need to be nimble enough to be ahead of that curve. So thank you for bringing that forward. I do agree that this particular contract is really good news from the numbers we previously looked at, and look forward to getting this done and being set for a while. Trustee Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I agree about the contract, and then so I just want to make sure I understand the bigger conversation you guys are having, because I guess I wasn't aware of it. So what we're talking about is essentially in the future deciding if we're going to have senior housing, period, or is it just more about strategies to keep them structurally healthy?
Trustee Meisner, it's just the long-term vision of the Anoka County Board of Trustees and the HRA as to whether we want to be landlords and building owners. There will always be senior housing in Anoka County, and we will always support it one way or another. The question is will we be the landlords? Will we own the buildings?
Right.
Or will we subsidize rents a different way? Will we, I mean, there's so many different ways we could help as an HRA, our senior community, our handicapped community. There's so many different ways we can be a partner to the community. And the question Commissioner Looks is asking is, we built 4 buildings. They're aging. They're costing us more and more money every year. Do we keep on doing that? I mean, it can be beneficial, owning buildings. It can be really beneficial. You control your own destiny. But it's a double-edged sword. And that's the question Commissioner Look is asking, is do we want to be building owners?
And I'm sorry, just a follow-up question. I mean, this is not a decision we have to make right now, though. This is just the conversation for like down the road. Okay, thank you.
Karen.
Mr. Chair, trustees, as you'll recall, Mr. Chair, we've been in conversation about having some strategic planning sessions this spring. There's a whole long laundry list of items that, as a staff, we need some direction on. Our board has changed over dramatically. We wanted to wait until we had representation from all of the districts again, but there'll be some strategic planning sessions where we can talk through all of these issues, and really you can give direction to staff as to how you want to proceed on things.
Thank you, Karen.
Mr. Chair.
Trustee West.
Blaine has had several senior buildings, huge senior buildings built, and there's another one going to get started soon. I think they are very competitive with what our fees are, and we have such a robust real estate market. I think it's a very good time to really dig in and figure out if that would be a beneficial thing for Anoka County taxpayers to sell these.
With that, I would entertain a motion to approve this HVAC contract.
I'll move it.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee West and a second by Trustee Look. Is there further discussion? Trustee Gamache.
Thank you. Karen, with the replacement part of this on the affected siding, when we decided to do that was, and I don't remember the color of this siding on this building, it's probably white or close to it.
Either beige or white, they seem to all be.
Well, I guess one of the issues that I would bring up, obviously, is we know siding can fade and those types of things. So originally, when we were talking about this, were we talking about when you're getting bids, were you talking about doing the replacement of all of these and then replacing the entire siding of the building to make sure it matches up? Or have we determined that that wasn't necessary?
Mr. Chair, trustee, I believe we determined it was not necessary because there is brick and other structures or materials
Okay.
in between the siding areas. So I think it'll be pretty simple to do where the siding has to come off to do the Magic Pack work. We'll be able to replace it, and nobody in the community will be wiser that some of the siding is newer than others.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That passes. We'll go to item 4, where we'll consider recommending to the full Board of Trustees to approve partnering with Minnesota Housing and Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Karen?
Mr. Chair, trustees, you heard me talk 2 weeks ago about how quickly U.S. Treasury has rolled out an emergency rental assistance program to help people who've fallen behind on their rent get caught up. We now have our 10.6+ million in our account. We've got to make some really key decisions. The biggest decision to make is, do we want to try to figure this out on our own? Some counties are hiring 10 staff. Other counties are working with a very robust emergency assistance program within their large county and a strong provider network that can assist. In Anoka County, we are feeling a little tapped to the max with everything we have going on. And it would be my recommendation that we partner with the state of Minnesota. They have put together a very good program. They are responsible for all of Minnesota, including Anoka County, because some of their dollars will be used once our dollars have been used up. They have already engaged the services of a call center type information line where once they start advertising, all the calls will come into one location. They have hired a company to make some minor modifications to a software program that has both a tenant portal and a landlord portal. They will be giving us access to that. Actually, the whole metro will be going with this one program. They're moving at warp speed, trying to get everything ready so we can start this program in March. There will be a contract, and this is the one that's still being negotiated with the state. They're working with some large companies that have done disaster recovery, not the going out and fixing things and clearing debris, but the ones who work behind the scenes on helping to get checks processed and things like that. We have several that have expressed an interest. They would serve as a processing center, so the applications would come in, go to this online application, and then the processing center would actually complete the verifications necessary, make sure that we have the W-9s from landlords, make sure all of the necessary pieces are there, and then cut the checks. And that was one of the big problems that they found with last year's CHAPS program, was that we had, I believe there were well over 80 vendors all cutting checks, and nobody could go back and tell a tenant, this is where you are in the process. By consolidating, we will have the ability to track where the tenant's application is, who's processing it, and be able to tell them the check is in the next check run, or we still need some documents from you. We will have the opportunity to have a forward-facing website, so that can be branded Anoka County. But other than that, I would recommend that we work directly with the state, use their contracts, either through the use of a joint powers agreement or by contracting directly. And in that case, what we would really want from you, in addition to making the recommendation to our full board, that we also ask that we have someone here who can quickly make decisions in between board meetings so we can make sure we're not holding the state up.
So we're looking for a motion to send this to the full board to approve partnering with Minnesota Housing on Emergency Rental Assistance Program and grant authority in-house within our HRA department to move between meetings to approve contract language.
Correct, and I would recommend that perhaps I be able to consult with the board chair and the vice chair, similar to what you've done with CARES funding.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move that.
A motion by trustee Gamache. Is there a second?
I'll second, I have a,
Second by trustee West. Further comments? Trustee West.
the state of Minnesota has not had a lot of success when they drive phone calls and online contact to one place. Are we gonna have Anoka County as the brand? And then people are gonna, it's gonna crash and burn like it does.
Mr. Chair, trustee West, the state has some bad experiences from the past. They rolled out a rental assistance program in 2020, much smaller than this one. They think they've figured out where the problems were, and the key problems have been fixed. They're using experienced vendors who know how to move things forward. The purchase of the software that will allow us to do the online application and the calculations is huge. The state didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They went to a company that does this type of work for housing authorities, has the programs for rental assistance, and this company has gone ahead and is now working with, I believe, 8 other states, and they are up and running already, and it's running very, very smoothly. The company's name is Alita 360. They have they've capped out the number of states they will assist, and Minnesota is the last one that they will take on, so they're not biting off too much. And we're very confident. We have demoed the system twice now, and we're very pleased at what it can do. And it's cost effective. It's something that we may look at using in our regular CDBG program in the future. We're very, very impressed. And it's because it was an off-the-shelf product that was already out there and working. So the state has learned from mistakes, and they're not trying to create things new and fresh. They're using things that they know will work.
Well, I hope that is how it turns out. But that's good to know that it was addressed and that people are aware of our past experiences.
And Trustee West's concern is real in that it's going to be an Anoka County facing webpage that they work through. And if it turns out to be a fiasco, it will be our name on the hook. So it's important that it's been vetted properly and that it works good. And it sounds like we're there. So we will put great faith in your testing of that and making sure that it's right. And then I will assume if we pass this here at a committee that we'll clean up the language a little bit so it's really solid for all the commissioners or all the trustees at the HRA, that they understand who has permissions to approve and who doesn't.
Correct.
Any further comments? Trustee Gamache.
Not a comment, just a quick correction on the background for at the end of December, that's the year 2000, it should be 2020, just when we move to the next step.
Thank you.
Because I think, wow, somebody really was planning ahead.
I was working on the staff report late at night. Thank you for catching that.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And we'll send that to the full Board of Trustees. Next, for informational purposes, a review of draft staff recommendations for the 2021 Community Development Block Grant and Home Funding. You do have a spreadsheet before you, and we will turn to Renee to walk us through it.
Mr. Chair, trustees, attached is a memo. Basically, our funding recommendations are based on our program year 2020 funds. They haven't released our current funding, anticipating it'll be similar to last year, was what we base our recommendations on. And in the attached spreadsheet toward the end of your packet is our 2021 funding recommendations. The good news on this, we were able to fund many of our applicants this year. For those that didn't, we transitioned, if they fit the COVID funding, we transitioned them to that. So there ended up only being 2 activities that weren't able to fund, and they didn't quite meet our funding requirements. There is an additional $37,000 in public service dollars remaining, and we do have remaining unallocated project funds. So if our applications are still open, if there are applicants out there that want to apply for these funds, but we will move forward with the applications that are recommended in this packet.
Very good. I assume most of you had an opportunity to look through these. Trustee Look.
Mr. Chair, thank you. As I'm just looking through this, I see a lot of familiar groups that have come before and asked for funding. As I recall, I think we've kind of had a unwritten policy that if you've got funding one year, that next year, you're not necessarily, given priority for funding. Now, that being said, if no one else applies for it, then obviously we want to get dollars out there, and it's not necessarily a competition of, one versus the other. Is that kind of the case, or do we still continue to have, 10 applicants with the ability to fund 5? I mean, or whatever the percentages are of more ask than money available.
Trustee, look, it is in our scoring that we do look at both the amount of funding that they received and past funding received. So if they received funds last year, they score less than if they haven't received funding in the past. So it is included in our scoring. This year, our applications were down. There's so much funding out there right now. I don't know if that impacted our applications. We had much more people attending our sessions to find out about our applications, but when it came down to it, we actually received less applications this year than we have in the past previous years.
Yeah, I spoke with a couple of nonprofit providers in the community over the last few days, and both of them told me that the PPP satisfied their needs, and they really didn't need to come for any more funding. And I thanked them both and said, thank you for being honest in your approach to garnering dollars from the government. And so I think that's probably a big part of it. I mean, the PPP and well, we see here, there were 2 applicants that received COVID dollars through CDBG as opposed to just straight up CDBG dollars. So a little more federal dollars becoming available made this program less appealing to some of them, I guess.
And potentially applicants could have received funds from our other internal CARES Act programs as well, too, for nonprofits. So they could have received additional funding through them as well, so.
Trustee Look.
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify, I'm not criticizing any of the applicants or the choice to approve any of these applicants. I think the issue was, or has been at least in the past, so we don't want the applicants to rely on us every single year for ongoing budgetary fill the gap type of requests. That in fact what we're looking for is new and different, partners out there that we can help fund and, and encourage that, as opposed to, every single year the same applicants getting funding. So just the reason for the comment.
Thank you. Trustee Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think that topic is hard because I hear what you're saying in terms of kind of spreading the help and that sort of thing. And at the same time, there's certain nonprofits that the need is just always going to be there and in fact increase every year. So I'm not exactly sure what the perfect solution is. Well, there isn't a perfect solution. I think right now with the scoring system that it's built in seems fair and reasonable, but I do want to advocate or at least mention that, again, some, not all, but some of these organizations that do keep coming back, they do for a reason. And so if we are able to help, I think that's important that we try to do that.
Yeah, I think Trustee Look's point more is to spread it out, to make sure that the same group doesn't get it every single year and 4 or 5 groups that keep applying don't get it. It's really more about getting it evenly distributed within the community. And that point's well taken. Trustee Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding the fact that, some of these are coming in and with requests and a few of them, staff has suggested 0. In those regards, do we go back and ask or remind them that we have COVID dollars out there, that maybe you need to relook at this, or I'm not exactly sure how we do it. I would assume that they would understand that if it's related to the virus, that they would put that into a different request. But just for example, one of them had a $50,000 request and staff had zero on this, and I'm thinking, is it not related? And they're not understanding, and I'm not exactly sure if there's anything else we can do for them.
On both of those, they didn't meet the income verification requirements, and so they didn't fit into HUD's requirements for that. It did let them know that we do have the $37,000 remaining in both the public service dollars if they wanted to tweak their application and re-look at what they have, or if they were able to tie it directly to COVID prevention, response, and recovery. We do certainly have those funds available as well, too. Trustee, to your comments, yes, certainly we've been trying to expand our pot here of the potential applicants. Some people don't, there's a lot of strings with federal dollars, and some organizations don't want to jump through the federal hoops. The other thing, HUD does require that it be a newer expanded service, so they can't be using the funds to serve the same people that they've used in the past. They have to be using the dollars that they received through CDBG to reach new potential beneficiaries rather than beneficiaries that they've served in the past, or they have to be expanding their services.
And for my edification, they do also need to meet the low mod.
They need to meet low mod income requirements, which is also a challenge because in addition to serving low mod, they also have to have some kind of show or proof that 20% of their actually did an income verification on that. And some nonprofits have a way to actually collect that beneficiary data where they're actually doing an income calculation. And for other nonprofits, it's more difficult for them because they don't get involved in needing to see a pay stub, per se.
Well, I would like to thank you and Karen and your team's work for all of this. I know getting through this every year is a monumental challenge, really. But it seems as smooth as ever, at least through the COVID year. It seems like it's gone smooth. So thank you for your work. And trustees, as you look at this, this is for information only, but if you look at this, if you see a glaring problem that you would like addressed, reach out to Karen or to Renee and work through your concerns. Otherwise, we will see this at the full board before too long. Next item on our agenda is for informational purposes. A public hearing will be held on February 23rd, which is a regular Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board meeting to take public comments regarding the proposed Plan Year 2021 funding recommendations. And then item 7, for informational purposes, a review of the Minnesota Housing MCPP First-Time Home Buyers Program startup, including the number of loans made with those funds in 2020. And in the memo, you can see that it's which dollars and number of loans went to which communities. Karen, you have some more information for us.
Mr. Chair, trustees, very briefly, we love getting this report out to the community. It shows that first-time home buyer dollars are being used by most of the communities. The few where it's not, it's because the house values are higher than what the limits are for the program. But I think it's really impressive to see that we helped people, 349 homeowners buy homes in Anoka County with this program, and that $77 million was invested in the purchase of these homes. It's dramatic every single year how much activity there is with this program.
Yeah, the interesting part for us to remember as trustees is that this year, first-time home buyers mean it may be their first time living in Anoka County, and they have a chance to be exposed to our parks and highways and services that we offer through the county and our opportunity to shine and show them what we have to offer. At the same time, a number of these, I'm sure, are kids that grew up here in mom and dad's house and decided they wanted to buy one here because they like living here so much. So either way, it's good for Anoka County, and we need to make sure we stay invested in this program all we can and make sure we dot the i's and cross the t's, because that $77,660,000 is a nice investment right back here in Anoka County.
Mr. Chair, this is one of those perfect programs. We get to promote it, we send information out to prospective home buyers, and then the lenders in our community do all the work. And we get to report back to you. So it's not taking a lot of staff time. We're doing a great public service, but it really is our lenders in the community doing the work.
Very good, thank you. That was for informational purposes. And then, did we have any public comment via email? We did not, so we have no public comment. Is there anything else to come before the HRA Management Committee? Seeing none, we're adjourned.